guys, it's a beautiful day outside in our flying field and I have the PT-19 all set up. As you can see, I have my throttle control working, ailerons are working fine, elevators and rudder are going in the right position. So yeah, I haven't flown this model in a while, so let's see how this bird performs. Okay, taking off. Alright, the PT-19's in the air. She seems exactly how I remembered it when I last flown this model. I remember I trimmed her out perfectly so it just goes in a nice straight line. Let me do a full throttle low pass. Yeah, that's really cool. It's a little hard to tell orientation today because of how bright it is, and just the color scheme on this model just makes it a little bit difficult, but I should be alright because there's decals on the top of the wing. Alright, let me do the basic aerobatics first, so let me just try a nice big loop. Alright, now let me try a roll on the runway. Apply some elevator. Nice smooth roll. That was actually really good. Okay. Let me do a super low pass, but I'm gonna try and maintain my throttle because I know this plane is very heavy. So if I go low enough, this model will just stall out on me. And it won't end up very nice. That wasn't that low. Let me try again. All right. Let me try a nice hammerhead. There we go. Got the tail wag on it. Let me try a calm figure eight on the runway. Maintaining my throttle like around 50% here. Alright, I'm gonna start it. Add some rudder for a smooth turn. Nice. Let me try a 4-point roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We do simple entry maneuver, then try the roll again. Oh, that was a bad entry maneuver. It's fine. Let's add another roll to that. Let me try that again. And I am going a little bit fast for what I want to do. So let me try that again. Yeah, still not getting it. Let me just try over here. There we go. Okay. I have 20 seconds on my timer, so let me just start landing. Lower my throttle and my altitude. Like clear my timer so it doesn't beep. But my battery is very low right now. Actually, very dangerously low. Bad approach. Let's see if I can still get this landing. Not the best, but still got it. That was a little bit rushed because I can feel the battery draining, and I thought I was gonna stall out, so I had to quickly turn. So yeah, that was a bit of a bad approach, but model's still intact, one piece. Alright, so that was my flight on the Tower Hobbies PT-19. It flew great in the air. I was able to do all of my basic maneuvers, such as my loops, my rolls, low passes. I actually forgot to do my inverted flying, but from what I remembered, this plane did do it perfectly, and I also did a little bit of inverted on my rolls, so yeah, that basically counted for it. But I did incorporate some of my pattern flying to it, and it did the hammerhead, it did the entry maneuvers perfectly. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for tuning to Jon's RC. If you're new to the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys, I'll see you in the next video.
Beautiful flight, Jon. Absolutely beautiful flight. Great job, buddy. Great job. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Eric.
And I'm Jon, and welcome back to Jon's RC.
And I hope you guys enjoyed Jon's last video on that little 3-channel 747, was it?
Yeah.
That was a fun little friendly beginner plane. But Jon told me that was just a little bit too easy for him. So for the next video, he wanted to try something a little bit more challenging. And so speaking of that, this is the Great Plains PT-19. So as usual, Jon will talk to you guys about the specs. I will talk to you guys about the build. And since Jon already had a chance to fly this plane many times over, Jon will give us his feedback on the overall flight characteristics of the plane. All right, buddy, why don't you start first?
So this is the Tower Hobbies PT-19 plane. The actual airplane was used as a trainer plane in the United States Air Force, the Royal Air Force, and the Royal Canadian Air Force. So this is an ARF build, so that means you have to supply yourself with basically everything, like all of the electronics, the servos, the motor, and yeah, just everything. For the transmitter, we bound it to the Spectrum DX9 transmitter. And for the receiver, if you can come over here, we are using a Spectrum AR626 channel sport receiver. It is a 4-channel model, so that means it does come with aileron control, elevator control, rudder control, and your throttle. So for the power system, it's powered by an Admiral 4-cell 3600 mAh battery pack over here, and the manual states that the minimum required battery is about a 3300 mAh battery pack. And I've flown this model many times in the past, and I think the biggest battery that we used on this model was a 4-cell 5000, so yeah, we're using something like kind of in the middle, and it seems to balance out pretty well. For the ESC, it's under here. We're using a ZTW Mantis 85 amp ESC, and that's connected to a Rimfire 32 motor, and that's turning a 13x8E plastic prop. So the model has a wingspan of 1435 millimeters. It has a length of 1173 millimeters, and the weight depends on the power system you choose. So like I said, the battery can be a little bit different for everyone, so it can go from 2268 grams up to 2495 grams. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So now my dad will talk to you about the build.
Awesome, thanks John. Alright guys, so this is probably our second ARF build as far as electrics are concerned, and this is probably on the easier scale of the build. So just like all the other ARFs that we've built before, let me flip this plane around and show you guys. So you do have to start with mounting the servos for the ailerons. Now for the electronic side, we did use a Tactic TSX25 servo. That was the recommended servo. I understand now that Tactic is no longer selling these things, but we saw on the website that there is an equivalent. I believe it's an Onyx 25. It's a similar spec and similar price range. So the good news is you didn't really, I don't think we had to pre-hinge the thing. It was already pre-hinged. We didn't have to install the hinges ourselves, but you did have to install, of course, the control arms. So you have to install the control horns to the servo rods, and then we just use these little quick links. The swing is not one piece. The swing is actually two pieces. And then what they do is they give you little wood joiners to fuse the wings together. Now guys, I know that some of you are not comfortable with gluing, and unfortunately if you're not comfortable with gluing, then this isn't going to work out, because there is a lot of cementing in this one. As a matter of fact, you have to use epoxy, and it comes in 2 bottles, right? Bottle 1 and bottle 2, and then you have to, let me just take it rid of that little sound. Okay. So you do have to use 2 bottles of epoxy, bottle 1 and bottle 2, and you basically just use equal amounts. And that's what you use to fuse the wings together. And I think we did like a 30-minute epoxy. So you fuse the wings together, you hold it, and it takes about 30 minutes to set. And then at that point, obviously you've already had to have, routed all of your aileron cables from the wing through the fuse. Then it's just a matter of bolting down these landing gears, okay? And again, these landing gears, if you can see, they're literally held on by this little tabs right here, and 4 screws on each side. Then you focus your attention on the tailpiece. Now again, what's cool about the tailpiece is you did not have to hinge these yourself. So the horizontal stabilizer basically just slides into place, and then you have to glue it down. Same thing with the rudder, okay? You do have to install it into the fuse, and you do have to glue it down as well. And then it's just a matter of putting these control horns with these servo rods and making sure everything is flush. Quite honestly, the hardest part about this build is this motor box. This motor box did not come pre-built. So this actually came into 6 different pieces of plywood, and you had to shape it into a box. So what I had to do was I had to practice putting this box together until I knew where all the pieces go by heart. And I had to do this like 10 or 15 times. So I would put it together, I would take it apart, and then I would put it together, I would take it apart, and then I would put it together again, just to make sure I knew exactly where every piece went. And then what I did was, when I was sure that I was very comfortable putting it together, then I used epoxy, and then I epoxied all the edges, all the sides, all the crevices, and then I had exactly 5 minutes, because I used a 5-minute epoxy, to put everything back together and turn it into a cube, and then you just let it set. Okay. Now again, on this box, it does have to be, well, it has to be fused into the actual firewall, and the only way to do that is you do have to drill holes, and there's some pre-assigned little circles on the firewall that you drill through, and that you mount the box together with with nuts and bolts. And then it's just a matter of mounting your Rimfire 32 motor. The Rimfire 32 motor came with that base, so you mount that base into the motor box, and then I think this was just a 13 by 8E plastic prop that you go ahead and bolt on. So again, this was really a fun build as far as balsa woods are concerned. My advice to you guys is, if this is the first time you're building a balsa type kit, is to absolutely take your time. Jon and I probably spent a good solid week on this together, right? So this is not something you want to try and do on the same day, right? You don't want to rush anything, because you really have to wait to make sure that all of the glue is dry. You have to take your time in making sure that you drill the holes exactly where they're supposed to be drilled. So again, don't rush it. The build is supposed to be fun, and it was really a nice learning experience for Jon and me. So Jon, now that you've flown the plane over and over again, so how do you like it?
Now, I haven't, before I've flown this, I haven't flown it in about a year. It's just been sitting in a garage. And I do recall that the first time I flown it, when I maiden it, I did have to do a lot of trimming, and I noticed that the ailerons and elevators were very sensitive. So I did have to apply some expo, and my transmitter says that the model was pitching up a bit because I did put plus 48 trim on the elevator. But I've flown it, and it seems to be rock solid now. It just flies in a straight line. I will say this model is very capable of doing aerobatics. I was able to do my basic ones first, such as my loop, my roll, and then I was able to incorporate a bit of pattern flying into my flight pattern. So I was able to do my my rolls, my entry maneuvers, 4-point rolls, all of that. This model can be very speedy, and it also can be slow, but you kind of don't want to go there. When I was flying, I kind of went a bit dangerously slow. When you see the flight video, you'll see that I was doing figure eights like around the runway in the air, and you might have seen that it starts to wobble around a little because I was at like 30% throttle, and it just started to stall, and I was kind of scared, but I don't know why I kept doing it, but I just really wanted to complete the figure eight. But yeah, this plane is still intact, so I did something right. But yeah, this is a great solid model. I will say this isn't exactly the beginner type plane. You will have to have some prior experience flying either a 4-channel or a 6-channel model before this. But I will say it is a great model if you want to get started into ARF builds. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's see the flight video.
Alright guys, we'll see you at the flying field.